Hi, everybody. Welcome. We're just going to see if I think we have a few more people joining us, and then we'll get started. Okay, I think we're going to start now then. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the What Do I Need to Graduate from High School presentation. My name is Shannon Hendricks. I was a guidance counselor for 22 years at 4 different schools within the Ottawa-Carleton District School Board, and I'm now working as a dual credit support teacher at Algonquin College. Please feel free to ask questions through the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen, and I will pause when I see these to answer your questions. So the OCDSB offers high school diploma and certificate options for all students. Our exit outcomes are designed to meet the needs of every student. Teachers, administrators, and all the staff here are here to help each student develop the necessary skills and characteristics they need to be successful in high school and beyond. This evening, we'll look at the requirements for an Ontario Secondary School Diploma, known as the OSSD, the Ontario Secondary School Certificate, the OSSC, and their Certificate of Accomplishment. Starting off with the Ontario Secondary School Diploma, the OSSD, students will need to successfully complete 30 credits, which include 18 compulsory credits and 12 optional or elective credits. The student is expected to earn at least 2 of their credits as online learning credits. They must meet the literacy graduation requirement, which involves either successfully completing the Ontario Secondary School Literacy Test or the Ontario Secondary School Literacy course. And lastly, the student must complete 40 hours of community involvement activities. We're going to explain all of this in the next few slides. So looking at the 18 compulsory credits for an OSSD, a student must earn 4 credits in English. That's 1 credit per grade, 1 credit in French as a second language, 3 credits in mathematics, and one of these must be from at least the grade 11 or 12 level, 2 credits in science, 1 credit in Canadian history, and 1 credit in Canadian geography. You'll notice that I have an asterisk next to the English credits. That is because if a student is taking English as a second language courses or English literacy development courses, a maximum of 3 ESL or ELD credits can be counted towards the 4 compulsory English credits. The 4th credit must come from a grade 12 compulsory English course. There's also an asterisk next to the French. And that is because if a student has taken a native language in place of French as a second language when they're in elementary and has earned a level 1 or 2, that can replace the French compulsory credit. Continuing to look at the 18 compulsory courses, students must earn 1 credit in the arts, 1 credit in health and physical education, a half credit in civics, and a half credit in career studies. There is a discussion that the Ministry of Education will also add the requirement of 1 credit in technological education at the grade 9 or 10 level for students starting high school in September 2024. Again, I've put an asterisk next to the arts, and that's to point out that the grade 9 course Expressions of First Nations, Métis, and Inuit Cultures with the code NAC 100 can also act as a compulsory credit requirement for the arts. And finally, for the compulsory credits, we have what we call groups 1, 2, and 3. And a student must earn 1 credit in each of these. So for group 1, the credit can include an additional credit in English, and that could include the Ontario Secondary School Literacy course, or French as a second language, native languages, First Nations, Métis, and Inuit studies, classical studies and international languages, social sciences and the humanities, Canadian and world studies, guidance and career education, cooperative education, and either American or the Quebec Sign Language. So that's a long list. The students can earn one in this list, and of course they can earn others in this list as well as electives, which we'll look at in a minute. For Group 2, students must earn one credit in the following, must earn one additional credit in the following, one credit in health and physical education, an additional credit in the arts, business studies, an additional credit in French as a second language, a cooperative education credit, and again, the sign language credits can count as a Group 2. And then we have Group 3. And in Group 3, a student must earn one credit from an additional credit in science, so that would be a grade 11 or 12 science, a technological education, an additional credit in French as a second language, computer studies, cooperative education again, and the sign languages. In Groups 1, 2, and 3, a student who has earned beyond the grade 9 French as a second language can use a maximum of 2 credits for Groups 1, 2, or 3. So the first one would say if a student took grade 10 French as a second language, then that could act as Group 1. And then if they took it in grade 11 or 12, then that can act as either a Group 2 or a Group 3. And I had mentioned co-op in each of those groups. So co-op is when a student uses work experience, so they go out and get work experience and earn credits for that. A maximum of 2 credits could be used for either Group 1, 2, or 3. So if a student earned 2 co-op credits, then that can count as Group 1, Group 2, Group 2, Group 3, Group 1, Group 3. I think you get the point. So they can use it towards 2 of the groups. There's also an online learning graduation requirement. So beginning in the 2020-2021 school year, students must earn 2 online learning credits to obtain their Ontario Secondary School Diploma. So in the compulsories or in the electives, in the 30 credits, 2 are supposed to be learned through online learning. There is an opting out allowance. So parents or guardians who wish to opt out or exempt their child from the online graduation requirement, they can complete an opt-out form, and this is found on the OCDSB website, which we're going to look at the end of this presentation. So we've looked now at the 18 compulsory credits. There are also 12 optional or elective credits that a student must earn. And these credits are selected by the student based on their individual interests and goals. So these optional credits can be helping a student prepare for the post-secondary destination of their choice. They might be looking at what the prerequisite courses are for a college or university or an apprenticeship. If they're getting ready for the world of work, they could also be looking at cooperative education credits or other credits that will help them with their next steps. The next part of earning an OSSD is the literacy requirement. So the Ontario Ministry of Education has mandated that students must meet the secondary school literacy requirement to earn their high school diploma. Students can meet this requirement through either successfully completing the EQAO Ontario Secondary School Literacy Test, known as the OSSLT, or by successfully completing the Ontario Secondary School Literacy course. So the Ontario Secondary School Literacy Test is administered to grade 10 students province-wide to determine if they're successfully demonstrating the reading and writing skills that apply to all subject areas in the provincial curriculum up to the end of grade 9. It is administered annually, and it's approximately 2.5 hours in length. It is designed by EQAO, as I mentioned. Students who are not successful in the OSSLT in their first writing of the literacy test are able to attempt it again in future administration, or they can enroll in the Ontario School Literacy course. Students with special needs may be permitted accommodations, provided that they have an individual education plan. And students that are enrolled in an ESL or an ELD program may defer writing their OSSLT once they are have a reasonable chance of success. As part of the high school diploma requirements, each student is asked to do 40 hours of community involvement. The community involvement consists of the student's self-directed activities for at least 40 hours, which must be completed before graduation. These activities must occur outside of normal instructional hours, and the purpose of the community involvement is to promote community values. Students are eligible to start accumulating community involvement hours in the summer before they enter grade 9. And in order to ensure that their activities are on the OCDSB list of eligible activities, a student should consult the website on the OCDSB, which I will show you in a minute, to make sure that their volunteering, their community involvement is acceptable. And we'll look at that webpage in a minute. We'll now look at the Ontario Secondary School Certificate, the OSSC. So the OSSC is granted to students who are leaving the secondary school upon reaching the age of 18 who have not met the requirements for the OSSD. In order to be granted an OSSC, a student must have earned a minimum of 14 credits. There are 7 compulsories and 7 optional credits for this. The 7 compulsories include 2 English, 1 Canadian geography or 1 Canadian history, 1 math, a science, a health and physical education, an arts, computer studies or technological education, and then 7 optional credits. And then there is also the Certificate of Accomplishment. Students who leave school before fulfilling the requirements for an OSSD or an OSSC may be granted a Certificate of Accomplishment. This may be useful for recognizing achievement for students who plan to take certain adaptive programs or other kinds of additional training, or who plan to find employment after leaving school. A student may return to school and take additional credit or non-credit courses and have their transcript updated, and they can work towards their OSSD or OSSC if they decide to return to secondary school. So I was talking about the different things that are available at our board's website. I'm just going to show you where you find that. So if you go to our OCDSB website, and if you scroll down to secondary and going to high school, then all the information that I discussed today is at the Student Guide to Course Selections. You can see here it has what do I need to earn my secondary school diploma. It has your course descriptions. It talks about prerequisites, lots of other additional information that we can't fit into 15 minutes discussion, but you'll see that it is a summary of what I just talked about. Just wondering if anybody has any questions before we move on to the next session. Oh, I'm seeing one question. Can students take more than 30 credits, especially those for college or university? Yes, you could end up taking more credits if you're working on prerequisite courses for college or university. You might be working ahead or working beyond the 30. Oh, sorry. Did we hear that? Okay, well, I thank everybody for coming to our presentation. And you can, if there aren't any other questions, you can use this time to move on to another session. If you do have any more questions, you can still type them into the Q&A box. Thank you. Hi, everyone. We'll get started in about 1 minute. I see just a few more people coming in. Okay, we're going to start just in 1 minute or less than a minute. Just seeing if anybody else is joining us. I think we're good. Okay, well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the What Do I Need to Graduate from High School presentation. My name is Shannon Hendricks. I was a guidance counselor for 22 years with 4 different schools within the Ottawa-Carleton District School Board. I am now working as the dual credit support teacher at Algonquin College. I'm going to be going through what you need to graduate from high school. If you have any questions, you can just put them in the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen, and I will pause when I can to answer your questions. So the OCDSB offers high school diploma and certificate options for all students. Our exit outcomes are designed to meet the needs of every student. Teachers, administrators, and all the staff are here to help each student develop the necessary skills and characteristics they need to be successful in high school and beyond. This evening, we'll look at the requirements for an Ontario Secondary School Diploma, the OSSD, the Ontario Secondary School Certificate, which is the OSSC, and the Certificate of Accomplishment. Starting off with the Ontario Secondary School Diploma, the OSSD, students need to successfully complete 30 credits. And within these 30 credits, there are 18 compulsory credits and 12 optional credits, or what somebody might call electives. The student is expected to earn at least 2 of their credits as online learning courses. They must meet the literacy graduation requirement, which involves either successful completion of the Ontario Secondary School Literacy Test, the OSSLT, or the Ontario Secondary School Literacy course. And lastly, the student must complete 40 hours of community involvement activities. So I'm going to explain this more in the next slides. If we first of all look at the 18 compulsory credits for an OSSD, a student must earn 4 credits in English, and that's 1 credit per grade, 1 credit in French as a second language, 3 credits in math, and 1 of these 3 credits must be earned at either the grade 11 or 12 level, 2 credits in science, 1 credit in Canadian history, and 1 credit in Canadian geography. You'll notice that I have an asterisk next to the 4 English credits. This is because if a student is taking English as a second language courses or English literacy development courses, a maximum of 3 credits in ESL or ELD can be counted towards the full compulsory credits in English. The 4th credit of these 4 must be earned by a grade 12 compulsory English course. There's also an asterisk next to the French because students who have taken native languages in place of French as a second language in elementary school may use a level 1 or level 2 native language course to meet the compulsory credit requirement for French as a second language. Continuing to look at the 18 compulsory courses, students must earn 1 credit in the arts, 1 credit in health and physical education, a half credit in civics, and a half credit in career studies. There's a discussion that the Ministry of Education will add the 1 requirement of a credit in technological education in grade 9 or 10 for students starting high school in September 2024. There's an asterisk next to the arts to point out that the grade 9 course Expressions of First Nations, Métis and Inuit Cultures, NAC 1.0, may act as a compulsory credit requirement in the arts. And finally, for the compulsory credits, we have what we call groups 1, group 2, and group 3. A student must earn 1 credit in each of these groups. So in group 1, a student must earn 1 credit by either doing an additional credit in English, this could include the Ontario Secondary School Literacy course, or French as a second language. They can earn a credit in a native language, First Nations, Métis, and Inuit studies, classical studies and international languages, social sciences and the humanities, Canadian and world studies, guidance and career education, cooperative education, and American or the Quebec Sign Language. For group 2, students must earn 1 credit from the following: an additional credit in health and physical education, or an additional credit in the arts, or business studies, or an additional credit in French as a second language, or cooperative education. And there is a session on cooperative education tonight. That is where a student earns credit for work experience, and again, the sign languages. Then lastly, for group 3, a student must earn 1 credit from doing either an additional credit in science, so that would be a grade 11 or 12 science, technological education, an additional credit in French as a second language, computer studies, cooperative education, and the sign languages also act there as well. For groups 1, 2, and 3, French as a second language can count as a compulsory credit, and then 1 from group 1 and 1 from either group 2 or 3. So that means if a student takes French as a second language in grade 9, 10, and 11, the first one will act as the compulsory 18. The second one would act, so the grade 10 would act as taking care of group 1. And then the grade 11 could act for either group 2 or group 3, because the student might have earned group 2 or group 3 another way as well. A maximum of 2 credits of cooperative education can count as either group 1, group 2, or group 3. So if a student was doing 2 credits in co-op, 1 could take care of group 1 and 1 could take care of group 2, or 1 and 3, 2 and 3. So it just depends on where the student hasn't already earned a credit in the groups, and then co-op can act for 2 of those groups. There's also, as I mentioned, the online learning graduation requirement. So beginning with students that entered grade 9 in the 2020-2021 school year, students must earn at least 2 online learning credits to obtain their Ontario Secondary School Diploma. Parents or guardians who wish to opt out or exempt their child from the online graduation requirement can do this by completing the opt-out form. The opt-out form is found on the OCDSB website, and at the end of this session, I'll be showing you the site with all the high school information and links to different things. So we've talked about the 18 compulsory credits. There are the 12 remaining optional credits that a student must earn to make up the 30. These credits are selected by the student based on their individual interests and goals. These optional credits can help them prepare for post-secondary destination of their choice. So that could be apprenticeship, college, university, or the workplace. The next requirement for the OSSD is the literacy requirement. So the Ontario Ministry of Education has stated that students must meet the secondary school literacy requirement to earn their high school diploma. They can earn this either by being successful when they take the EQAO Ontario Secondary School Literacy Test, known as the OSSLT, or by successfully completing the Ontario Secondary School Literacy course. So all students take the literacy test first in grade 10, or we'll talk about that a bit more in a minute. So they will take the test in grade 10 to determine if they can successfully demonstrate reading and writing skills that apply to all subject areas in the provincial curriculum up to the end of grade 9. The Ontario Secondary School Literacy Test is administered every year, and students try it in their grade 10. Like I said, it takes about 2.5 hours to do. If students are not successful on their first attempt of the OSSLT, they can attempt it again in a future administration time, or they can enroll in the Ontario Secondary School Literacy course. Students with special needs may be permitted accommodations according to their individual education plan, and students who are in an English as a second language course can defer until it is felt that they are ready to write the OSSLT. Lastly, as part of the high school diploma requirements, the OSSD, students must do 40 hours of community involvement. And this consists of a student's self-directed activities for at least 40 hours, and these must be completed before graduation. The activities are to occur outside of normal instructional hours, and students are eligible to start accumulating their community involvement hours before they enter grade 9. So the summer before they enter grade 9, they could start this. In order to ensure that their activities are on the OCDSB list of eligible activities, the student should consult the OCDSB website and look at community involvement. So it is our Community Involvement Hours webpage, and I will show where you can find that link at the end of this session. We'll now look at the Ontario Secondary School Certificate, the OSSC. The OSSC is granted on request to students who are leaving secondary school upon reaching the age of 18 without having met the requirements of the Ontario Secondary School Diploma. It is granted, in order to be granted the OSSC, a student must have earned a minimum of 14 credits. Within these 14 credits, 7 are compulsory and 7 are optional. The 7 compulsories include 2 English, a Canadian geography or a Canadian history, 1 math, 1 science, 1 health and physical education, 1 arts, computer studies or technological education, and 7 optional credits, which are selected by the student from the available courses at the school, and again, to help them work towards what they want to do after high school. Students who leave school before fulfilling the requirements of either the OSSD or the OSSC may be granted a certificate of accomplishment, and this may be useful in terms of recognizing achievement for students who plan to take certain adaptive programs or other kinds of additional training, or who plan to find employment after leaving school. A student who earns this certificate of accomplishment can return to high school and work on their, add to their Ontario transcript, and then work towards an OSSD or an OSSC. So the website that I was mentioning is our school board's website, ocdsb.ca. If you go to our school board's website, and you click on secondary, you'll see that there is a button called Going to High School. And then the information that I shared with you today is under the Student Guide to Course Selections. You can see we have what do I need to earn my Ontario Secondary School Diploma. There's also course descriptions, what the course codes mean, etc. So if we have any questions, I'm just going to go back to that screen. If we have any questions, You can put them in the Q&A at the bottom, and I will try and answer them for you. Oh, there we go. So is there streaming in the core courses? There is a session on de-streaming. So the grade 9 and 10 courses are de-streamed in the core courses, and you can go to a session on that. And where do you find information on the community involvement? Let's see if I can show you again here. Sorry, should have that. It is in our secondary information. I might have to Google it, but it is in here. I'm sorry, I should have had that ready for you. Sorry, if you want to, I can share that with us later. I'll make sure that we add it to our notes. And I have to leave you now because it's time for you to go on to your next session. Hi, everybody. We're just going to wait a few more seconds for people to join us. Okay, it's 8:01, so we're going to get going. Welcome to the What Do I Need to Graduate from High School presentation. My name is Shannon Hendricks. I was a guidance counselor at 4 different OCDSB high schools, and I am now working as a dual credit support teacher at Algonquin College with OCDSB students who are doing dual credits. So today we're going to go through what it takes to graduate from high school. So within the OCDSB, we have pathways for all of our students to earn either their Ontario Secondary School Diploma, their Ontario Secondary School Certificate, or their Certificate of Accomplishment. And we will go through the requirements for each of these. So the requirements for an Ontario Secondary School Diploma, known as the OSSD, is 30 credits, which includes 18 compulsory credits and 12 optional credits. A student is to earn at least 2 credits through online learning. They are to get the literacy graduation requirement through either successful completion of either the Ontario Secondary School Literacy Test or the Ontario Secondary School Literacy course, and they're to do 40 hours of community involvement activities. In the 18 compulsory credits, a student must earn 4 credits in English, which is 1 per grade, 1 credit in French as a second language, 3 credits in math, at least 1 credit coming from grade 11 or 12, 2 credits in science, 1 credit in Canadian history, and 1 credit in Canadian geography. You'll notice that I have 2 asterisks here on the slide, one next to the English and one next to the French. For the English, if a student is studying in the English as a second language or the English language development courses, then 3 ESL or ELD credits can act towards the 4 credits that are required for English, but the 4th credit must come from a grade 12 compulsory English. For the French as a second language credit, if a student took a native language instead of French in their elementary school years, and they are achieving a level 1 or 2 in a native language, then that can act as the French as a second language. Still looking at the 18 compulsory credits, there is 1 credit in the arts, 1 credit in health and physical education, and half a credit in civics and careers. There is a Native Studies course, which can act at the grade 9 Native Studies course, can act as the credit for the arts. Still within the 18 compulsory credits, there is a Group 1, Group 2, and Group 3. In Group 1, a student must earn 1 credit from this long list here. So it could be an additional credit in English, which could include the Ontario Secondary School Literacy course, or a credit in French as a second language, or a credit in native languages, a credit from First Nations, Métis and Inuit studies, a credit from classical studies and international languages, a social science and humanities credit, Canadian and world studies credit, something from guidance and career education, cooperative education, or the American or Quebec Sign Language. So this is a long list, but remember, in order to achieve Group 1, a student must earn 1 credit from one of these. It doesn't have to be all of them. For Group 2, a student must earn 1 credit from, again, one of the choices here, an additional credit in health and physical education, or an additional credit in the arts. It could be a credit in business studies, additional credit in French as a second language, a credit in cooperative education. And there is a session this evening on cooperative education. That is where students earn credit through work experience. And then again, the sign languages. And then lastly, group 3, again, a student must earn 1 credit from this list, an additional credit in a science, so it could be a grade 11 or 12 science, a credit in technological education, an additional credit in French as a second language, a credit in computer studies, cooperative education, or the sign languages. And there's 2 things to note here with groups 1, 2, and 3. If a student has taken an additional credit or more than 1 additional credit in French as a second language, so for example, they take French as a second language in grade 9, 10, and 11, then the grade 10 and 11 French as a second language credits can act as group 1 first, and then either group 2 or group 3. So they can act for up to 2 of the groups. And the same for cooperative education. If a student takes 2 or more credits in cooperative education, up to 2 of those credits can act as either group 1, group 2, or group 3, and it can be any of the combination. As I mentioned when I was first talking this evening, there is an online learning graduation requirement. So this began with students who entered grade 9 in 2020-2021 school year. Students must earn at least 2 online learning credits to obtain their Ontario Secondary School Diploma. Parents who wish to opt out or exempt their child from online graduation requirement can complete the opt-out form, and that is located on our board's website. So we've gone through the 18 compulsory credits, and now there are 12 remaining optional credits to get to the 30. So the 12 optional credits are selected by the student based on their individual interests and goals. This could be that they are working for prerequisite courses for college or university. They could be working on courses in cooperative education to do an apprenticeship or to get ready for the workplace. So they're choosing the courses that are going to help build what they want towards their post-secondary destination. Lastly, in order to earn an OSSD, students must pass the Ontario Secondary School Literacy Test or the Ontario Secondary School Literacy course. In grade 10, students take the Ontario Secondary School Literacy Test, which is called the OSSLT, and it determines whether or not they're meeting the minimum standard of literacy across all subjects up to the end of grade 9. If students do not succeed the first time the test is written, they have another opportunity. Schools also have the option of offering the students the literacy course, the OSSLC, in place of the test after the first time that the student has tried. And then lastly, for the OSSD, there is the 40 hours of community involvement. And community involvement is to help students understand their civic responsibilities and the positive impact they can make on their communities by actively contributing and supporting them. Students are to be doing these hours outside of regular school hours, and they can start them as early as the summer before they enter grade 9. And if you're looking for information on the eligibility for community involvement, if you go to our school board's website, and then on secondary, and then under the classroom, and then there's information on community involvement hours. There is also the option of the Ontario Secondary School Certificate, and this requires 14 credits. So the Ontario Secondary School Certificate, or the OSSC, is granted on request to students who are leaving secondary school upon reaching the age of 18 without having met the requirements for the OSSD. To be granted the OSSC, the student must have earned a minimum of 14 credits. For these 14 credits, there must be 2 English credits, 1 Canadian geography or Canadian history, 1 math, 1 science, 1 health and physical education, and 1 credit from the arts, computer studies, or technological education. There is also then 7 optional credits, which the student will choose from the available courses at their school in order, again, to help prepare them for their post-secondary destination. Whoops, sorry. Lastly, there is a certificate of accomplishment. Students who leave school before fulfilling the requirements for their OSSD or OSSC may be granted a certificate of accomplishment. This certificate may be useful for recognizing the achievement of students who plan to take certain adaptive programs or other kinds of additional training, or who plan to find employment after leaving school. A student can return to school and take additional credit or non-credit courses and have their Ontario transcript updated. A new certificate won't be awarded, but a student can work towards their OSSD or OSSC if they fulfill those requirements. So the information that I shared was quite quick, in 15 minutes or less. If you go, I'm just going to give a little demonstration of our school board's website. If you go to our website, ocdsb.ca, and click on secondary, the information that I am sharing is in the going to high school. And all of the information that I am sharing is here under the student guide to course selections. So you can see that it has what do I need to earn my Ontario Secondary School Diploma, the course descriptions, etc. And if I go back one and we go to the classroom, there is also information on the community involvement. So if you have any questions, you can put them in the Q&A box down below. And if not, I thank you for spending your time with me. I think I went through that one pretty quickly. So I'm just going to look at the questions. Are there 11 or 12 optional credits? There are 12. So the question is, are there 11 or 12 optional credits? I don't know if we heard this before, but there are 12 optional credits. So 18 compulsories and 12 optionals. Sorry, I'm just going to back into the questions. If you opt out of online credits, would they complete them in person? Then yes. So the online credits, sorry, I hope I'm answering this and people can hear me. The online credits, those would take care of any of the 30. So if you opt out of them, then you're just doing all of them in person for your 30 credits. Okay, well, thank you, everybody. I think that we're now to the time where you're supposed to move on to your next session. So thank you. Hi, everyone. We're just going to wait a few more seconds or minute just to see if we get some more people coming in. I see quite a few more coming in now. Okay, so we'll get started. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us. This is the What Do I Need to Graduate from High School information session. My name is Shannon Hendricks. I was a guidance counselor for over 20 years at 4 different schools within the Ottawa-Carleton District School Board. I am now the dual credit support teacher at Algonquin College for students within our board who are doing a high school credit while attending a college credit. So today we're going to talk about the requirements for an Ontario Secondary School Diploma, an Ontario Secondary School Certificate, and the Certificate of Accomplishment. We're going to start off with the Ontario Secondary School Diploma, known as the OSSD. In order to earn an OSSD, a student must earn 30 credits, including 18 compulsory credits and 12 optional credits. They're to earn at least 2 online learning credits, to earn the literacy graduation requirement, either through the successful completion of either the Ontario Secondary School Literacy Test or the Ontario Secondary School Literacy course, and complete 40 hours or more of community involvement activities. So looking at the 18 compulsory credits for an OSSD, 4 credits in English, 1 per grade. There's 1 credit in French as a second language. 3 credits in math, and one of these 3 must be a credit in grade 11 or 12, mathematics. 2 credits in science, 1 credit in history, and 1 credit in geography. There is also a credit in the arts, a credit in health and physical education, half a credit in civics, and half a credit in careers. Now, I forgot to mention on the previous slide, there was an asterisk next to the English. If a student is taking English as a second language courses or English language development courses, 3 ESL or ELD courses can act towards the 4 for the English. The remaining 1 has to be earned at the grade 12 compulsory English level. Also for French, if a student did not take French but instead took a native language in elementary and is at the level 1 or 2 of the native language, that can act as the French as a second language compulsory credit. In the arts, there is also a grade 9 Native, Indigenous and Native Arts course that can act as the arts credit. Within these 18 compulsory credits, there's also something that we call the groups. There's a group 1, group 2, and group 3. A student must earn 1 credit in each of these groups, and there's a long list of possibilities within each of these groups. So for group 1, a student must earn 1 credit from something within this list. An additional credit in English, and this could include the Ontario Secondary School Literacy course, or another credit in French as a second language. It could be a credit in native languages, a credit in First Nations, Métis, and Inuit studies, a credit in classical studies and international languages, social sciences and the humanities, Canadian and world studies, guidance and career education, cooperative education, and you might have been in a session that was about cooperative education. That's where a student earns a credit through work experience. And then either the American or Quebec Sign Language can also act as a group 1, and we will soon see group 2 or group 3. So again, a student doesn't need to earn a credit in all of these. In order to satisfy group 1, they need to earn 1 within this list. For group 2, a student must earn 1 credit from something within this list. So it could be an additional credit in health and physical education, an additional credit in the arts, a credit in business studies, additional credit in French as a second language, again, a credit in cooperative education, or a credit in the sign languages. And then in group 3, a student must earn 1 credit, again, from within this list, an additional credit in science, so it could be a grade 11 or 12 science, a credit in technological education, 1 additional credit in French as a second language, a credit in computer studies, or cooperative education, or the sign languages. You'll notice that some things were listed in all 3 groups. So French as a second language, cooperative education, the sign languages. French as a second language, first of all, the grade 9 will take care of one of the first 18 compulsories because we saw that on the list. Then if a student takes additional credits, so let's say they take French as a second language in grade 9 and 10, the second one they take, so the grade 10 French, would act as a group 1. And then the third French as a second language could either act as a group 2 or a group 3, depending on what other courses the student took, and if that was already satisfied the group 2 or group 3. The same with cooperative education. A student can use up to 2 of the cooperative education credits as group 1, group 2, or group 3. So they can earn a group 1 and a group 2, or a group 2 and a group 3, or a 1 and a 3, any of those combinations. It depends on what other credits they took that already satisfied one of the other groups, and then the cooperative education can act for the others. So we had mentioned at the beginning that there's an online learning graduation requirement. Beginning with students that entered grade 9 in the 2020-2021 school year, students must earn at least 2 online learning credits to earn their Ontario Secondary School Diploma. There is an opt-out. Parents or guardians who wish to opt out or exempt their child from the online graduation requirement would have to complete an opt-out form. So those were the 18 compulsory credits that we looked at. There's also 12 optional credits. And these optional credits can be chosen from the selection of courses that are at a student's school, and it should be based on that student's individual interests and goals. These credits could be used towards working for prerequisites for college or university or apprenticeship, or getting the student ready for work. There is also the literacy requirement for the Ontario Secondary School Diploma, the OSSD. So students must pass either the Ontario Secondary School Literacy Test or the Ontario Secondary School Literacy course. In grade 10, students take the Ontario Secondary School Literacy Test, and this determines whether or not they're meeting the minimum standard of literacy across all subjects. This is written at certain times of the year, once or twice in the year. If students do not succeed the first time the test is written, they'll have another opportunity. Students can also offer the students the literacy course in place of the test after their first attempt. Lastly, for the OSSD, there is the requirement of 40 hours of community involvement. And this is to help students understand their civic responsibilities and the positive impact they can have on their communities by actively contributing and supporting to their community. Students are eligible to start accumulating community involvement hours in the summer before they enter grade 9. So in between grade 8 and grade 9, in that summer, they could start working on their community involvement hours. To ensure that the activities are on the OCDSB list of eligible activities, you can visit the OCDSB website under secondary, the classroom, and then it has information on community involvement hours. The Ontario Secondary School Certificate is known as the OSSC, and there is a requirement of 14 credits for this. So it will be granted on request to students who are leaving secondary school upon reaching the age of 18 without having met the requirements for the Ontario Secondary School Diploma. To be granted an OSSC, a student must have earned a minimum of 14 credits. And in these 14 credits, they must earn 2 English, 1 Canadian geography or Canadian history, 1 math, 1 science, 1 health and physical education, 1 arts, computer studies, or technological education, and then 7 optional credits selected by the student from the available courses at their school, and again, to help them prepare for what's happening after high school for them. Lastly, there is a certificate of accomplishment Students who leave school before fulfilling the requirements of the OSSD or OSSC may be granted a certificate of accomplishment. This certificate may be useful for recognizing achievement for students who plan to take adaptive programs or other types of training, or who plan on finding employment after leaving school. A student can return to school and take additional credit or non-credit courses and have their Ontario student transcript, or OST, updated. A new certificate will not be awarded, but an OSSD or an OSSC can be granted when the returning student has fulfilled those requirements. So all this information that I discussed today can be found on our board's website. And just to share that with you, if you go to OCDSB.ca and you click on secondary, just waiting here. Oops. Clicked on the wrong thing. Secondary, and then going to high school. Student guide to course selections. And you can see the information that I presented is on what do I need to earn my secondary school diploma. There's also information on course descriptions, prerequisites, things like that. Also, if we go back one, and we go into the classroom on the side here, there is also information, including information on the volunteer hours. So if you have any questions, you can write them in the Q&A box. I'll just stop sharing my screen. And then I can provide answers for that. So just seeing if anybody has any questions, and if not, thank you for spending your time with me. And I hope you have a good evening.